The fourth point, and the reason that I wrote the book, was to try to get people to understand that there are times when you just need to hire an expert. Now, as you know from my introduction and my background, I have a little bit of experience with tools. I worked on a farm. You can't grow up on a farm without having some experience with tools and working on things. And I worked in construction, obviously another experience with tools. I had this little powder room that I wanted to remodel. And it wasn't very big. I mean, I'm talking about a powder room, and it had a toilet, and it had a sink that hung off of the wall. So I'm kind of dating the house at this time. And I thought, you know, wouldn't it be a fun project to redo this bathroom? Wouldn't take a lot of effort. Home Depot's having a sale. And so I thought a pedestal sink. Pedestal sink would look nice, get a little bigger toilet. And so I undertook this project and ripped everything out of there and painted the room. And I hate to paint. And I didn't really do a great job of painting, but I figured they can put we'll just put low wattage bulbs in. So, you know, so it's not going to be that dark. And I did one of those peel and stick floors, you know, which works okay until you get to the edge. And then you got to cut these pieces, and they don't always cut so straight. But you know, they make quarter round for that. So you get as close as you can, you put a little piece of quarter round. And anyway, you know, what if somebody's sitting on my throne using my powder room, and he's going to look at the floor and say, man, you didn't cut that straight? You know, with the lights as dim as what they are? Hey, guess what, buddy? Next time use a tree. You don't like that? So anyway, you know, I had this part done, and then I go to the pedestal sink. And it was real easy to do. And Home Depot even gave me an extra 10% off because I applied for a credit card. So I was saving money big time on this project. And so I go to put this sink in, and I can't get it to fit. And it leaks, and it leaks. And I take it apart and put it back together. And I follow the instructions after 3 or 4 attempts. Okay, I'll follow the instructions now. And I can't figure them out. And I could never get this thing. After 3 or 4 days and all kinds of frustration, I finally broke down and I hired a plumber who came in, and he couldn't put it together either because I had stripped everything. And so he charged me to put all new guts into this thing and put it in. So there goes that whole 10% Home Depot discount. So that's gone. I cut that card up and sent it back to him, jerks. And I finally got a powder room that worked. But I had to hire an expert. My example was Harry Thompson in the book. Now, much more significant than a few dollars that was wasted on a plumbing enterprise and all kinds of frustration. And I don't want to minimize that because that was a frustrating job. And it's the last time I ever tried to fix something in the house, by the way. And, but Harry Thompson, and this was back in the late 1990s. It was back when Armstrong, before they went bankrupt. Harry Thompson was an Armstrong retiree, and he had a significant amount of his 401k that was an Armstrong stock. And this was when the takeover rumors were going, and Armstrong stock was on a tear and had gotten up to like $80 a share. And so what he wanted to do was to roll it over into an IRA and then just be able to sell the stock when he thought it was at a peak. And he decided to do this with an insurance company, and he decided to do it on his own because he could do this thing on his own. Only thing is he never checked to see if the insurance company could accept securities. So everything else was rolled over as cash. That went through with no problem. The stock disappeared out of his 401k, never reappeared anywhere else. And for months he tried to get this resolved, and everybody kept giving him different answers. And by the time he came to us to try and get this fixed, Armstrong stock had declined from 80 to about 60, and we had already progressed into another year, which was a problem because he should not have been rolling over this stock. He had a cost in the stock of probably $10 or $12, if I recall, and the stock at that time that he started this was at 80. We could have taken a distribution as a net unrealized appreciation. He would have only paid tax on the $10 or $12 a share as ordinary income. And then when we sold the stock, we could have sold it for a capital gain, which would have had a much lower tax rate than what he would have paid as ordinary income. So the first thing was that he shouldn't have even done that. But because the rollover was done in 1 year of all the cash, and now we were trying to get the stock placed in another year, the NUA strategy was totally out of the question. So it took us another couple of months to get the stock put back into the 401k and didn't do the rollover properly, and the stock had then been down to 50. and eventually we did get rid of the stock long before it went to zero. But still, there was $30 or $40 worth of value that could have been saved had he done it right the first time, had he consulted an expert. And in times, as you're going through this book, you're going to find that some of these strategies are rather complex. And sometimes, like in the net unrealized appreciation, there are certain steps that you have to go through in order to make sure that it's done properly, because the IRS doesn't like you making mistakes, and usually they'll just penalize you and charge you the tax anyway. So we just would rather avoid that. Oftentimes, we are brought in after a mistake has been made. Hopefully, as people read this book, that they'll learn that we want to do these things right to begin with, and sometimes you just need to bring in an expert.